Chantal, remind me again?
Erica.
Okay, great. I'm going to post this note for those watching at home. If you have paper, utensils, things you can write on. If not, you are actually at a dry erase table. So if you really wanted to, you could write on that.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, write on that table. How can you mark?
I totally want to write on the table.
All right, cool. Give you the
Hey.
blue,
Red.
red,
My class. Sit over here. You want to use the table?
blue, red, or green.
Red.
Oh, we can do all of them. Yeah, by all means. Here. You can do some problems on the board / table. So I don't think anyone's actually watching at home, so I don't have to talk to them. You bet. My name is David. I teach here in the Writing Center. I should talk about Robert we've met for now. We're meeting. So today I kind of want to go over this idea of style. And style is such a vague thing. The way we dress, style. The way we talk, style. The way we write, style. We mean it in a very specific way here. And so far, you've probably turned in writing in your classes. I know you have. You've gotten feedback on your plainness of style. How do you understand it? What does that mean to you? You see, like, I got a craftsperson, or I got an apprentice, something or other, on plain style. Does it translate to anything for you?
And you don't have anything that like stands out about your type of writing?
So standing out. Okay, so we'll put that in brackets. From the board, whiteboard. So to stand out. Do you want to qualify that or add on to talk?
Define features of your writing, like whether or not you do really well in coherence or explanation, flow using transitions, etc.
Explanation. Small side fact, writing on the board isn't writing on a table, therefore your brain isn't spelled the same way. It's really weird. So if you ever see a teacher typo on the screen, it's because this is a different, okay, so these ideas, we want to get at and specify what we're talking about when we do talk about style, because we mean something very specific. When you write a sentence, you can say whatever you want, right? We're on the moon. We're not on the moon. It's morning. It's afternoon. Language lets you say whatever you want to say, and it could be accurate or could be kind of, say, fictional, right? Fictitious. You don't have to say things that aren't true. So you can say things in a lot of different ways, right? I'm wearing a hat. I'm not wearing a hat. How can I say both of those things and only one of them is true? Language lets us have a space for that. So when we talk about style, and we're focusing on the word level thing, we talk about wordiness. So you ever read something and think, this is just so wordy, or
That's me.
that's you. So you know that about yourself. Anyone else ever been accused of being wordy?
Mm-hmm. Using a lot of little words.
So like WDY. Too much wordiness here. How do you take that when you see that? When you see that, what is it? Do you read that as a marker about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. Usually it goes like passive. Okay, you just accept and say I'm wordy. Or this document I'm wordy. I'm always wordy.
Usually I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice.
Right? So do you ever accuse of being wordy in real life though? Like not on paper?
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, you're such a talker. Oh, you're so wordy. Are you good?
Depends on the topic.
Yeah. Okay. So something you know a lot about, perhaps you feel more comfortable talking about discursively.
Right.
Something that, in your discourse community, if you're, say, in 1101, you talk about that idea of being comfortable and familiar in your own environments. Yeah, you might be wordy then. So why be less wordy? Is being wordy a bad thing? Or when is being wordy a bad thing?
Being wordy is a bad thing when you confuse your audience.
So we get this rhetorical idea. You're always writing for somebody. You're always talking for somebody. You're always dressing for somebody. You're always doing something for somebody else. You can write in your journal. You can say it's for yourself, but really it's for yourself down the road. It's not you anymore. You get dressed in the morning. You say it's not for yourself, but it probably is for yourself and other people. So it's the dynamic of my reader, my audience, me, and the way I participate with them. And so the words we choose and the way we talk about being wordy, let's draw an analogy to clothes. So think about getting dressed and going to a wedding. Now compare that moment of getting dressed and going to a wedding, whether it's your wedding, you're a bridesmaid or a groomsman, and going to the beach. Are those two different styles of dress? You'd agree? So dressing like you're going to a wedding, but then going to the beach on a 98-degree weather day. Would you feel like you're overdressed, you're too dressed, you have too many articles of clothing on? Maybe it doesn't fit the occasion, right? Maybe a wedding at the beach, that might fit. But in general, when you go to the beach, that's not the case. You might be overdressed. So that's the same idea in a sentence, right? You could wear a spacesuit and go to the beach. You wear a spacesuit and go to a wedding, right? Or you can wear it while you're on a spaceship. Makes a lot more sense. This idea of wordiness comes down to the idea of appropriateness. So if we're trying to say something to an audience, we have an opportunity to be responsible to them. And plain English style is something we talk about. Plainness. You think about Mennonites. You think about the Amish, right? How would you describe their fashion, the way of styling themselves? You can't say plain, so something else that maybe gets us there.
Old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned, traditional. What else? How about the colors? Like tie-dye, hippie colors?
Neutral colors.
Neutral colors, okay.
I would have said for like Amish. I guess I would have said like old school or something. I don't really.
Okay, yeah.
I would have said like, I don't know, maybe like 18th century.
Yeah, that makes good sense, right? Would you say that they're ornate, or they have a lot of accessories, or that they really overdo it? Or is it closer to the other side of underdoing it?
It's at the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay, so it's under, right? It seems like it's less. I know they wear more, you know, all those layers, looks like a three-piece suit every single day, but they're black colors or white colors. It's a linen shirt they probably wear frequently in slacks, right? This idea of plainness, right, is important to them because they don't want to embellish. They don't want to wear more than. Same idea in our English style of writing. You can write plainly. If you talked plainly, people wouldn't want to talk to you probably. You'd sound like a robot. But when is it good to have that kind of style is the question we want to get at. And to that end, we're going to discuss two features, character and action. Human brains love characters and actions. If you're watching at home, and I think I have one or two viewers, you're watching the PowerPoint, I hope, that you downloaded, but characters make sentences easier to read. Let's go through the examples of these 3 sentences here. So the subject of each sentence is underlined. The carrying of food baskets through the wood to grandmother's house has been affected by an encounter. So do you understand what that means? Can you explain that? Could you explain it to a small child and translate it into 3-year-old speak pretty easily? You can visualize that, right?
Yeah.
The carrying of food baskets through the woods was affected by some sort of encounter. Escapes have been facilitated. So it's kind of harder to explain. Can you imagine explaining that to a child? Escapes have been facilitated. You have a subject, it's the escape. And then it's been facilitated by letting down of hair from the top of the tower. Sounds like Rapunzel. So this idea of subjects that are really not really good characters. And we could think about it, how about this way? Let's turn it around. Little Red Riding Hood, she, was skipping through the woods. Could you explain that to a small child more easily than, say, the previous sentence on the previous slide of the carrying of food baskets through the woods? What's different about those 2 sentences? We talk about character. We have his first sentence, the carrying of food through the woods. Look through that first sentence, the carrying of food baskets through the woods. Do you find people in this sentence? Do you find characters?
No.
You gave me any character.
There's no character. And so in the new one, Robert, Little Red Riding Hood was skipping through. We added what, you said?
You gave it a character.
What kind of a character?
Um,
How about this, animate or inanimate? Human or non-human?
Human.
Concrete or abstract?
Concrete.
Pretty concrete, right? So if I were to just put my hand out and say, hey, can you hand me the carrying? Could you do that? Could you fill my hand with a couple escapes? Are those concrete things? It's a funny thing, right? This is why fairy tales are great. They're so, fake. Could you give me permission in my hand? Could you just pour a bottle of permission in my hand? No, these are all actions, right? To permit something to happen, to escape from something, to carry. These are all things that who do? Concrete objects or abstract objects?
Abstract.
Do abstract objects do things or concrete objects? Does love do things or do love?
Concrete objects.
Yeah, right? Humans, animate actors. So when you think about action, who acts? The actor. And as long as your sentence has a sense of actor and act, we can say and agree that's plain, right? So we look at these simple sentences here, and they really are simple sentences. Who let down her hair? Rapunzel. Rapunzel let down. Subject, verb. Actor, action. When you compare that to the preceding sentence, right? The letting down of hair from the top of the tower permitted blah, 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 blah. That's a simple idea of plain style. If you can put a human in a subject spot of a sentence, put a verb right after it, what happens for your reader? Think about a 3-year-old. What happens when you change that sentence from once upon a time as a walk through the woods was taking part on the part of Little Red Riding Hood, a wolf's jump out from behind a tree occurred, to once we get maybe an idea of coherence, but clearer. So we always say that about things. It's not clear to me. What does that mean? Let's change my sentence. Once upon a time as she walked through the woods, a wolf jumped out from behind a tree, scaring her and scared her. Which one of those two is easier to follow?
Second.
Because?
Less wordy.
Yeah, so it's not as wordy. We come back to that idea, right? There are literally fewer words in that sentence. But think about this. Where are the actors in each sentence? Once upon a time as a walk through the woods was taking place on the part of Little Red Riding Hood. When do we meet her?
At the end.
Okay, once upon a time as she walked through the woods. When do we meet her?
Right at the beginning.
Bam, and that's it. That's direct plain style. Just those two concepts, character and action. If you can implement those in your writing, it becomes very easy. So individually as a group, here are 3 sentences I'd like you to just try to revise. So in the United States, our variety population is evidence of strong immigration, which in turn has created a heavy multicultural presence. Ooh. Do you see humans in that sentence?
Nope.
No.
A lack of efficiency has been a key factor in how not just Americans, but people from countries around the world see America as having an inadequate government. Wow, it's hard to read out loud and say it in one sentence, one long breath. People in the sentence? You get them, but they're buried in the middle, right? How about this one? In 2013, July 4th spending resulted in around $2.4 billion for cooking spendings. Anybody spending money in that sentence? No, there's no humans. So what I want you to do is each of you take one of these sentences. You can divvy them up, or you can do the same one. It's kind of moot. Pick one of these, revise it, add humans to it. If they're not obvious in the sentence, add one you want. A little bit of writing hood, Americans, they, whatever you want to put in there that makes it still make sense for its purpose. So just take a minute or two. I think the third one's probably the easiest of the 3. Yeah, just think about filling in the blank. What don't we know about that sentence? And that's the question you're trying to answer by adding back into the sentence. Strong character. I'll put that on here too. It's worth noting, just to respond to that idea, these all make sense. These are all grammatically correct. Yeah. So rather than saying it's about sense making, it's about clarity for your readers. And so you're making a choice that has an effect that makes sense. Yeah, I get. Yeah, definitely, definitely. What do we got?
Can you go back one?
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Click. And I'll put it up on the whiteboard here as best I can. My handwriting is poor though. Unless you want to hold the table up. But yeah, I already like what you've done to the beginning of that sentence because you did something really savvy.
So where are you going to?
Both. This is a good revise. It's going to be one more. That's okay. That's the idea. This is the best way I can think of this is to explain it as fractions. For example, if I gave you 50/100ths of a dollar, you'd slap me in the face and say, just say half. Because that makes no sense. No one talks in that way. Oh, do you want 3/8 of pizza later? No one says that, right? Do you want 3 slices? There are 8. Okay. Do you want 50 cents? That makes sense. Do you want half a dollar? That makes sense. Sometimes a decimal works. Sometimes a fraction works. Same thing here. The idea is you can reduce it, though. And so Chantal will use that one. You can reduce it. But let's start with yours. How did you rewrite it? And I'm just going to put it up on the board.
In 2013, Americans spent around $2.4 billion on July 4th cookout spendings. I didn't know how to finish July, but I guess that makes sense. July 4th cookout spendings.
Well, you just get rid of the word expenses.
Yeah.
You spent on it. So what you did, if I had to just summarize it, it seems to me is you put the Americans, the who, the they, at the beginning, right? And how did you know Americans? This is kind of implied, right?
July 4th, yeah.
Yes, who else celebrates July 4th? The Americans, right? The French have July 14th, we have July 4th. So in 2013, Americans spent. So who did it? Americans. What did they do? Spent. Beginning of the sentence becomes clear, so much easier to follow. So Chantal, do you want to try yours?
Sure.
Okay, you have a lack of efficiency. So here's my question. When we look at this sentence, a lack of efficiency has been a key factor in how not just, wow, it's so long. Who lacks efficiency?
Americans.
Okay, so Americans, and let's go from there. What do they do? So American.
They're inefficient.
Okay, so American inefficiency is a factor in what?
It's a factor in how they are viewed by everybody.
Okay, and then we have the second half. So we got a lot of things going on here, right? So we have a sentence here at the end that you have, the clause rather, they're viewed by everyone. Can we turn that around? Who's doing the viewing?
Everyone.
Views them. Yeah, so you could turn that around, make that passive active if you wanted to. So the doer of the action precedes the verb itself. Robert, you want to try yours?
Yeah, I did, as a result of immigrants illegally crossing the American border, a multicultural presence has grown rapidly within the United States.
So in the United States, our variety of population is evidence of strong immigration, which in turn has created a heavy multicultural presence. So what did you make the sentence subject here in yours? What's the actor?
The immigration.
So can I hold an immigration in your hand? Is that an action?
I said immigrants, to be more specific.
Oh, good. So human beings, right?
Right.
Immigrants have done what?
Crossed the American border.
Okay, that might be a good way of explaining that. Sure, you've changed the language a little bit, but you've done something that makes the sentence a lot easier to read, right? You put people in the people spot, the subject spot, and it's no longer abstract, right? It's concrete. Human brains live for character. And when you start a sentence in this way, with human actor or some sort of animate actor, you can add inanimate because you get through the sentence. It becomes old, familiar, easy to understand information leads to new information for your reader's sake.
I could probably get rid of the illegal part because it doesn't really matter when it comes to like.
You might have added that.
Yeah.
And that's beside the point. So you're just adding content.
Yeah.
We're just talking about style. So style-wise, you asked the question who, and you addressed it. You put that person or those persons first. The action, right there. So subject, verb, right off the bat. And that sentence became easier to read. And that's it. That's the idea for revising for plain style. And the point here is, you don't write this way, do you? Do you talk this way? Direct, plain? Do you stop yourself and say, I could have said that better, hold on, rewind, let me say that again, and do it again, and again, and again till you get it right? Or you just kind of qualify it in the next sentence? Probably the latter, right?
Probably not, yeah.
When you write, though, do you have the opportunity to re-qualify yourself in the next sentence, or have you already moved on?
You have every opportunity to qualify yourself.
Yeah, in revising, right? So you can rewrite that sentence over and over and over again. And that's the idea you're trying to get at here, right? So here's an independent practice for you. What I want you to do is look at this paragraph, and I'll blow it up in Word for our purposes, but I want you to look at the paragraph and identify its subject and its verb. Who is the character and what action is associated with that character? I'll pull it up here. Let's see. I'll blow that up. Too big. About 44. We don't need to do all of these. This is a good sentence, actually. A little bit smaller. How about 36? And get rid of that. Get rid of that. Cool. There we go. If you're looking at this paragraph, can you go ahead? Could you revise that? I bet I can make it even better than that. Page layout, orientation, landscape. Zoom out just a little bit. Here we go. Yeah. Your vehicle may require adjustment service to the hood secondary catch system. This catch may be misaligned, so the hood may not be adequately restrained to prevent hood fly-up. Sudden hood fly-up beyond the secondary catch while driving could impair driver visibility. Occurrence of the above could result in vehicle crash without prior warning. What do you notice is missing from every single sentence here? If we talk about actor and action,
No person, no actor.
there are no actors here, right? They're implied, perhaps. Who's this written to? And how do you know? Not a specific person, but looking at the first set of words here.
The owner of the car.
You. So perhaps you could rewrite these sentences now in light of that second person perspective. These are directions, right? This is a recall notice. You get this in the mail and say, oh crap, my car needs to have this fixed. And it's addressed to you. You get this. This is not easy to read. Moreover, it's 55 words where probably 20 will do. So how would you revise this? So take a moment, erase what you have on your white table there, and try to add back in that sense of you. Give directions here. Make this person feel better about what's going on. I know it seems difficult, but I promise if you add the word you to the beginning of these sentences and just say it how you would say it to someone over the phone, you'll find that it's much easier to say it in a way that's understandable rather than trying to, quote, sound smart, which is often the directive people feel. So take 2 minutes. And also appreciate if there's a you, who's the other person talking to? Who's doing the talking? How would you call them? How could you be that voice?
I'm having issues here.
How about this? Say you're the company. You three you run this car company. You all own Honda.
Mhm.
That's unfortunate. Well, maybe not, right? What we call them the airbags, right? So here's my question. Before we start revising this, let me ask this question. If you were talking to me as a group, how would you introduce yourselves? As one word, as a noun or pronoun? If I'm I and you're you to me, then to you, I'm you, and you're what? Go through your pronouns. Who are you as a group?
Us.
Yeah, we, right. So who's talking to the you? It's we. So maybe that intuition can help you shape this paragraph. What is that we, you, need me to know? So your vehicle may require adjustment. So who's doing the adjusting? We know who's requiring, it's me. Who's doing the adjusting? Who's going to realign it? Is it me? Am I going to do my own auto mechanic work, or someone else going to do that? How about this? I'm going to give you a sentence, and this might be kind of the key for you. It's a famous sentence that gets said a lot in politics. It's 3 words. It's so simple. In telling you that it's a political statement, you're going to know exactly what I mean, I think.
Vote me, please.
That's close. Mistakes were made.
Oh, true.
Mistakes were made. I'm admitting something. What am I admitting when I say that?
A mistake was made.
Yes. So I'm sorry, obviously, right? But what am I omitting in that admission?
What mistake?
That's part of it. What's the first half of it, though? That's the verb.
Who made the mistake?
Who mistaked? Yeah. Did I say I made a mistake? I didn't say that. I don't own that. That's not mine. When you want to avoid ownership of something, you don't say me, right?
Right.
What's omitted here? Who messed up? Who is responsible?
Okay.
So that we, that Honda, that whatever you want it to be. Yeah, sure, Honda, which is supplanted by we if you really want to pronoun for. But yeah, go with Honda. So what did Honda do or not do? What is Honda going to do about it? And how does that affect me, the driver, the owner, here?
I'm trying to like think about, because I'm kind of like acknowledging ownership.
Yeah, let's just.
How it's like it's like say like it's our service I'm providing to you.
So I want to give this a little bit of writing hood treatment, right? So,
That makes sense.
you know it does. It makes great sense, in fact. But you have the right, see, this is the thing. We have that intuition as humans who want character. And that's what you're getting at. The question is, how do you solve the algebraic equation here to realign the parts? Your vehicle requires, do cars have needs?
Maintenance.
Sure, but do cars have needs versus saying like a baby has needs or a human has needs?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I need something for my car for it to work well? So think about it in terms of actual actions here. So the subject is your vehicle. The verb is may require. But how about the adjust? How about the service? These are 2 verbs here, right, that we could look at. Who's going to service it?
Honda.
Sure, or adjust it, right? So how could we rewrite the sentence and say like what's going to happen?
Hood secondary catch
Honda is
system.
offering you a free adjustment service.
We're getting there.
Because then you can also say like it's the service that you're providing to them.
See, what you're doing is you have 2 verbs now, to offer and adjustment. Which is the word you're actually going to enact? Are you going to offer or are you going to adjust?
Adjust.
So if you can only have 1 verb, which one are you going to go with?
Adjust.
So rewrite that idea, right? So Erica, you have.
I put fix.
Oh, good. Yeah, fix is fine. The point is, you have a verb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who? Honda. What are they going to do?
Fix.
Honda will
Adjust.
fix your secondary.
Was it hood secondary
Your car
catch
hood.
system? Oh, is that what it is? Your car hood?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's basically,
Oh.
maybe that helps. maybe this is such a hard paragraph to understand because it's not really explained well, right?
Yeah.
Imagine someone rear ends the car in front of them, and the hood latch breaks, and now it's just like flip flop, flip flop, flip flop. Anytime you stop, the hood pops open, and now it's like, oh, it could pop open at any time. That's the problem. The class is broken.
Okay.
That makes more sense now.
Yeah.
So, except it wasn't an accident. This was a manufacturing error, and Honda's trying to own it. Or this, I shouldn't say Honda. This is a dealership. This car manufacturer is trying to recall it to fix it, so you don't have that problem. And having had my hood fly open on a highway, this is terrifying. You don't want it to happen. So you have the right idea, though. You're basically, yeah, why not? Honda will fix your car hood because what's wrong with it?
Because it's not restrained. It's not. Yeah, it's misaligned. That's why.
Yeah, it's misaligned. Who misaligned it?
Honda did.
Yeah, because why? Who? Because fill it in.
Mistakes were made.
Exactly. Turn it around. So because Honda, or we, if you want.
Honda made a mistake.
Well, you can use the language you already have here. Misaligned,
Oh,
right?
misaligned. Misaligned.
Now, when you have that kind of sentence, right? We have these two sentences originally. Dear so-and-so, your vehicle may require adjustment service to the hood secondary catch system. This catch may be misaligned, so the hood may not be adequately restrained to prevent hood fly-up. There's nothing going on there about who, right? There's no actor. Now let's take Erica's sentences here. We get, Honda will fix your car hood because Honda misaligned your hood. Now, compare those two. How direct is that? And which one of these sentences, or sets of sentences, is the idea plain?
Can mine is plain?
Yeah,
Mine is plain.
absolutely. But how are we understanding the idea of plainness, right? Think about the Amish. Are they sugarcoating it? Are they hiding it? Are they bending the words around something to kind of make it a little bit easier to get away with? It's not our fault. It just happened. Act to God. Versus, dear car owner, we made a mistake. We need you to bring your car in. We misaligned your hood, perhaps, and we need to fix it. We mistaked. We will. Ownership. You can apply this in your other writing. So you're summarizing, say, I don't know, G's article on what is discourse analysis. Is it the idea is argued, or is it the G argues? Right? So you can turn that around and make it very direct and ownershipy, right? Same thing when you're in R 1143. Robert. So does the idea of intentional fallacy get discussed in the chapter, or do Wimsatt and Beardsley discuss intentional fallacy? That idea of actor action is the cornerstone of this idea of plain style. And so long as you can actually follow that idea and look at any given sentence and ask that question, who? And if I don't know who, do I need to know? If I did need to know but don't know, this author has not gone to the next step of revising for plainness, right? So some ideas to take away. We want to sound smart. Everyone wants to sound smart. But if you obfuscate, that is, if you use big words to hide things, right? Meaning. Do you risk losing your reader's ability to know what you mean? If you say it plainly, are you being economical and saying more people will likely understand my idea if I say it plainly? That's the question you get to ask. So do you want to wear a spacesuit to the beach? You can, but you might be confused or confusing, right? So don't try to sound smart, be clear. Actor, action. Those two ideas in a sentence. So if you can find the key characters in your story, if it's the authors in your summary, right? What do Wimsatt and Beardsley do? What does G do? What does Inouye do? It doesn't matter. They're the actors, right? They discuss discourse analysis, or they review intention and intentional fallacy. If you put them at the beginning of a sentence, it's much easier to follow. If you're burying Little Red Riding Hood in the end of a sentence, that 3-year-old does not want to hear the rest of the story. That should be your litmus test. When do I find out who we're talking about? If it's not to the end of the sentence, is it a Stephen King novel, or is it supposed to be a more direct to the point sentence? Use human characters if you can. Pronouns like they are great because it's very simple to understand. Inanimate objects, I always call it the hand test. If you can't hold it in your hand, it's not animate, it's probably not a good sentence subject. Escaping from jail is hard. I had a hard time getting out of jail. See the difference between the two, right? They're abstract. The idea of escaping, it's a verb, it's an action. It belongs in the verb slot. Some science writing, if you're getting outside of this doesn't always work. This is just a general concept that you have at your disposal. You ultimately get to decide, do I need to speak plainly here, or do I need to do it in a certain way? For example, in chemistry writing, chemistry objects, you might write, the nitrous was titrated through the beaker at a rate of 100 milliliters per hour. It's not important that you did it. It's important that it was titrated through there at that rate. So for that sake, in that case, plan style doesn't fit. You have to decide, when does that style fit that moment? For this class, for 1101, 1143, the majority of your writing is explicit writing, right? It's about what you think about something. You're trying to put an idea out there for someone to understand. It generally fits well. Questions about that? So if you had to explain plain style to someone after this class, what would be the easiest way for you to do it? Just like in a sentence or two. I'll turn this off.
Plain style is what you can understand.